Hello, everyone. This is criminal profiler Pat Brown, and there is so much gossip all over the internet about Bill Belichick and Jordan Hudson, the May-December romance. They're 50 years apart. They've been together a few years now, and there's all kinds of critiques and criticisms and fascination with this couple. And normally I don't get involved in gossip crap, but I wanted to bring an actual profiling viewpoint to this kind of relationship. So maybe can get a little more understanding of what could be going on. All right. They are 50 years apart. This is true. They met on an airplane and then somehow hooked up and have been together, and they've been on Instagram and stuff doing all kinds of, poses and cute stuff, and they seem happy together. But then they did this recent interview where they were interviewing him, and she was popping in going, "We're not talking about that." And people are like, "Oh, she's a control freak." And so now people are, everybody's criticizing her because they're like, why is a 24-year-old with a man who's in his 70s? That's a 50-year difference. What the heck? She obviously she's getting something from him, right? She's using him. And then you could ask the same question. What's this man at his age doing with a young chick like this who could be his granddaughter? Why isn't he with a woman closer to his own age? Maybe somebody like me. Well, I'm going to tell you why. All right. So let's understand. There's two major possibilities. The first one is something I think a lot of people don't even want to even think about, which is maybe they just actually like each other. Maybe they enjoyed being with each other. Maybe they just met and fell for each other, and they're having such a good time together. They want to stay together. That does happen. Sometimes it's possible that he wasn't searching out a young thing and she wasn't searching out an old thing. They were just actually met and they're just having a grand time. And it brings back to mind the story I once read. A man wrote this book. He's a Frenchman. And he said when he was in his 20s, he met this woman in her 40s, and he fell for her and she fell for him. They fell in love. And people said, you can't marry that woman. She can't even have kids. What if you want a family? He goes, well, I love her and I want to be with her. You kind of wonder what's wrong with him, right? What's she doing with the young thing, right? They got married. They were apparently married for, 40 years. Had a great relationship, and then she died. And he was at that point in his 60s, I believe, maybe even closing towards 70. He said that way he thought that was it for him. And one day he was doing his little thing, gardening and all the stuff that he was kind of a retired guy do. And he met this 30-year-old woman. And they just got along so well, and they just became friends, and then they just cared about each other, and they decided to marry. And his friend said to him, well, you shouldn't marry the 30-year-old because, she wants to have a kid, and you're already, look how old you are. You'll be dead before before the kid even grows up. Is that fair? They decided to go ahead, and they did have a child. And 20 years later, they were still married, and his son was going to college. So here was a man who married two women because he actually loved them, regardless of their age. And he had successful marriages. So he wasn't just, looking specifically for a person of a particular age. He just found someone he cared about. So it's possible that there's no ulterior motives here, that these two just met and they just loved being together. That's one possibility. Now, let's put that one possibility aside and say, hey, if that's the way it is, isn't that wonderful? I mean, most of you don't even know these two people. You don't have any skin in the game, especially because he's retired. So this football game stuff is over. He's not like, oh my God, she's going to ruin his coaching. She's going to ruin my team. So you have no reason to even give a crap. But here you are going, oh, why are they together? Okay. But let's go to possibility number two. Possibility number two is a thing called a transactional relationship, which quite frankly is what most relationships are. Even people who fall in love have some level of transaction in the relationship. The person you have decided to be with, and they have decided to be with you, each one of you is giving the other something. whether makes your heart, for whatever reason, you're physically attracted, so you just sexually excited about this person, you just can't, you enjoy being with them, or they give you the attention and love and bring you flowers or whatever the heck that is you want, or maybe you get attention from that person builds up your ego, or maybe you found somebody who loves to do the same things you do, so now you got somebody to travel with. You actually have a companion to do these things. Maybe you want to have a family, and that person wants to have a family too. So they serve you a purpose, and you serve them a purpose. And if you're both decent enough people, that relationship may go into the future in a very happy way. Now, there are some people who stay in relationships which aren't healthy, and you say, why the heck are they still in that relationship? And it can be because, let's say a person stays in an abusive relationship. It may be because they're terrified of being alone. They can't stand being alone. That person leaves, they won't have anybody. That could be a reason. People stay in relationships because they need the money the other person's bringing in. Maybe they got married, they have kids, and now they can't afford, well, literally can't afford to leave. Because if they leave, they're going to be broke. And maybe they don't want their children to go through divorce, so they'll stay for the kids. So people always have reasons for things. So let's look at May, December. What could it be? Well, if it's not pure love or pure we just have such a great time together, what could be the transaction that is happening here? Well, the obvious thing is she's saying, hey, this guy's rich and famous, and I'm going to get a life that I will never probably get just being me, dating the guy down from the grocery store. I'm not going to get much out of it. I'm not going to get the life of traveling and all that stuff. I'm not going to get that from the box boy at Safeway. So she said, this guy's going to give me the life I want. He, on the other hand, is going, oh my God, she's hot. I'm going to get sex again. And she's lively and fun and exciting. And I know I've met some women my age and they're kind of boring. You know what I mean? They're kind of not so good looking, and so they're not so attractive, and they're very opinionated because, they've lived a long life and they got baggage with them too. This nice thing, she's exciting. She's exciting. She's everything. Oh, I'm gonna have such a good time with her. And apparently they do have a good time together, right? So he's with the young thing, she's with the old thing. There's this interesting story that I had one of my sister's somebody she knew, and I lived nearby this fella, and so I knew him as well. And he was a good friend of my sister and her husband, and lovely fellow, and never married. But what he did was, he had retired. He had a reasonable amount of money, but he just had lived a kind of a plain life, and he was kind of a plain fella, shall we say. One day he met up with a masseuse. Now, when I say masseuse, I actually mean somebody actually was legitimately a masseuse, not a massage parlor girl, the 24-hour massage parlor. So she wasn't hooking. She was actually a masseuse. She did real massages. She had a license and all that stuff. And she was at least 20 years younger than him. I think I don't know if she was she had two grown kids that were about 20. So I guess she was about 40. And he was in his 60s. So 20 years difference. And they hooked up together. And we're looking at them going, why are they together? They don't seem appropriate for each other. Well, what did he have that she didn't? He had money. And he could get her a place. He could get her a place for her business, for her massage. He had a house. She could move in with her kids. Now, what did he get out of the transaction? Well, she's 20 years younger. He had never been married. He was excited to finally get a lady in his life. And you think, well, why would he want the kids too? Well, the kids also added something to his life. He had a family finally in his home. He had life and busyness. And he was so bored with where he was at. Finally, he had this lifestyle that was different. And sometimes, in life, you just get tired of where you're at, and you'll go for whatever you can to change that up so you have something fresh and new in your life. So he did that, and I think he was happy for quite a time. And then somehow she just moved out of state and left him. And but her kids are still living with him for free. But he lost his wife, but he still kept the adult kids. Why? Again, maybe because when he gets up in the morning, he likes to hear voices in the house, and he wants to talk to somebody, and there they are. Now, I don't know, this is a while back, I don't know if that's still going on, but when you look at a situation like that, you say, should he have married this woman? Was she just using him? Well, she was using him for her purposes, and he was using her for his purposes. And it's not our business to decide whether that's a worthwhile transaction or not. If it's worthwhile to them, even if it's for only a period of time, maybe it was better than not having that transaction. Maybe life had gotten to the point where it's just like, I just want something new. I want something different. I want to live again. Maybe he's retired and he's like, my life was so huge before I was being a coach and all the attention, all the excitement of the games, and I've retired and now I'm like freaking bored out of my mind. And then she comes along and she changes his life, makes it something exciting. And he's doing the same for her, giving her stuff she probably would never get with a fellow her age who, doesn't have the money and fame that he has. So it could be a transactional relationship. But so what? Doesn't everybody have the right to make their own decisions in their lives and decide to be around whomever they would like to be around for whatever reasons they have that desire? I mean, it's not our business unless it's truly affecting us. I mean, if you're a family member and you're like concerned that there really is some deeper thing, and some people do think so, because they say, oh, she's controlling him. And a lot of family members tend to worry about young women, especially young women, moving in on an older man and then using him and then basically depleting him of all his money and and then the will is made out to her and the kids get nothing, so they're worried about, what happens then, is daddy being taken by this gold digger. But still, unless he's got Alzheimer's, dementia, he is a grown man. It's his life. It's his money. He has every right to determine what he wants to do with it. It's very frustrating sometimes to have people tell you, your children or other people, to tell you how you should live your life. As long as you're not breaking the law, this is what's good for you. You shouldn't do this. You shouldn't. I'm sorry. It's not your business. You live your life. I'll live my life. So those are my thoughts on this May-December romance. And I hope that they both get something out of it that they went into it for. I hope they're fair to each other. And if it turns out there's an abusive relationship involved here, well, unless he's got dementia, he's a grown man and he can choose who he wants to be with. Same thing for her. Grown people. And people sometimes stay in relationships that we do not think are healthy, but that's not our business. So unless you're family, and then maybe you have a little bit more say, but all of us out here are not family. So let them go on their way and let it go. Anyway, thank you for being here. This is, I hope you'll come back again I'm probably not going to talk about this again, but do come to my channel. I talk about true crime. I analyze evidence in cases, and I stay professional with it as opposed to gossip. So they said it's a little unusual for me to do this, but I just really wanted to bring a profilist point of view. Please do subscribe to the channel and check my playlist, and maybe I'll see you again. Bye-bye.